Hey everyone, Arin Darcan here from Call Center Mastery, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about what to actually look for when hiring appointment setters. So the most important thing, first of all, is your time, right? You want to make sure you're not spending hours and hours interviewing people that are just not a good fit from the get-go, and you end up just wasting a bunch of time. I had it before when I was hiring setters myself, was that I would jump on a call with someone, and as soon as they started speaking, I immediately knew that it wasn't going to work. Then you have to waste like 5-10 minutes trying to get them off the call and all this other stuff. And when you could have just filtered them out from the get-go and just not even offered them the interview, right? So let me share my screen and we can jump straight into the first thing we do to make sure we're only speaking to high quality applicants on our interviews. So we have a form that looks a lot like this. Okay, so basically we call it the appointment setter application. We use Airtable for this, but this can be done in Google Sheets, Google Forms. This can be done anywhere you want. The key parts isn't the software that I use, it's the actual questions that I ask, okay? So the first thing is a brief introduction about the application form. We just say some nice things. Next few questions were your answers. You'll give us a chance to learn more about yourself. Once you submit this application, we'll review it and get back to you the next steps. So if you've watched my previous video about how to actually find these people, then we would have noticed that we do this thing where someone applies on LinkedIn, and then we send them an email saying, hey, you've got through to the next step, please submit this application. So people think when they've received this application, they've already passed the first round screening. They haven't, but it's just we found that by telling them they think they've passed their first round screening, they're way more likely to actually fill out the application form. If you just straight up try and get people to fill out an application form like this, that asks a lot of questions, a lot of people just won't fill it in. So we want people to think that they've passed the first round of screening, which this kind of does, and then bam, they go straight into the application, way higher chance of them actually filling out the application. So from here, we want to make sure it's very clear that it's an hourly freelance. Obviously, in your situation, you might want a full-time, which is perfectly fine. You can put that in here. We only hire freelance contractor positions. We don't do the full-time. And I can do a whole other video about why we do that, but for now, just this is what we do. So we ask them their full name, email address, pretty simple stuff, right? Then we want to get their phone number. We have a bunch of automations that get triggered after this, like all the reminders about the application, about the interview, all that kind of stuff. So we want to collect their phone number, but the main thing is we don't want to be having is like them writing it in a weird way. You'll be surprised how many people fill out like weird information, just things that just doesn't really make sense when they're filling out these kind of application forms. So I make it very clear. I don't just ask what your phone number is. If I just ask what their phone number is, a lot of people won't even put their country code. They'll just put like 866 like this, right? And they'll assume that you know they're from the Philippines, right? But you don't, or they assume you know from the Dominican Republic, but you don't. So I make it very clear. You need to make sure you put the country code in with the plus sign, and don't include any special characters like hyphens or brackets, right? Because again, if someone writes in 866-9 whatever, right, then when we try to push this into our CRM, it doesn't know what the number is, it doesn't recognize it, and it won't send any of the text messages. If we try to phone them, it's not going to work. We make it very clear. You want to write it like this and not write it like this, okay? So with this application form, you need to make sure that everything's laid out very, very clearly. This is not a high skill job. So I'm not saying the people that are applying are stupid or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but they're a lot more distracted. They don't really focus as much. They probably fill out these application forms, probably like even like 100 every day, right? So they don't really care. It's not like some high level position you're hiring for where the person should be super careful. A lot of people when they're hiring for this role will be like, well, I only want to work with people that take their time on application forms and really care about, they don't care about your job. Like, you don't get off your high horse. Like, no one cares. Like, you're not special. You're just an employer who's trying to find some appointment setters. So don't like use this as a way to like, oh, you know, if they don't fit it out properly, then I don't want to work with them. Like, most people won't fit it out properly, just to be honest with you. Like, a lot of people will struggle with filling this out properly. So you can't use that as a requirement. It just doesn't work. People are rushing. It's not their best work. They're literally just like filling out loads of these applications, like I said. So don't think everyone's gonna get it perfect. You need to lay it out step by step for them. So that's the phone number. Where do you live? City, state, country. Obviously pretty obvious. What kind of shifts are you looking for? So again, you don't want to get on an interview with someone and they're like, I can only work Saturdays. And you're like, why the hell am I even doing this interview? What a waste of time, right? So you want to collect that from the get-go. We then ask for a recording link of themselves, okay? As an example, this could be a Google Drive link, an uploaded voice recording, or a link to a Vocaroo. Please make sure you make any links accessible by anyone and that the link doesn't have an expiry time, okay? We added that in, obvious reasons. People kept sending us links and we couldn't open them. They were restricted to the person who sent it. And so it was very frustrating trying to listen to a voice recording and you can't listen to it and it just doesn't work, right? So we make that bit very clear. If someone goes through this and they don't have the recording available to us, it's not that we'll write off their application because of that one thing. However, I'm not going to spend the time chasing them for their voice recording, right? So we get hundreds and hundreds of applicants. I'm not going to go back to every single one and be like, hey, we couldn't access your recording, like, can you please send it over to us? It's just a waste of time, right? It's just, we've got loads more applicants we could hire, so just don't even worry about them. So I like to put that little bit in there just to say, hey, make sure it's accessible, just to give them a quick, like a warning. But if they send it and it's not accessible, we just delete it. We just write it off, because it's like, again, it's not because I don't think they pay attention, which maybe they don't, but it's more of just the time of having to go in there and reply to them. It's just too much effort. So we just don't do that. So they send a voice recording. Obviously here, you can hear what they sound like. One thing you got to be careful of is that some people will get like their siblings. Like if they know their sibling's really good at English and they sound way better than them, they'll get their sibling to do the voice recording, right? Or they'll, even with like AI these days, right? Like they'll put themselves into an AI and then they'll have it say, like they'll tell the AI, hey, make my accent sound more American or something like that, right? So although this is like a good starting point, make sure that when you have the interview with them, that you're very, very, like you're really listening to their accent, you're really listening to what they're saying, because this could have just been an AI, this could have been like their one of their relatives, it could be anyone, right? So just be careful of that when you're actually on the interview. Just don't when you have the interview with them, don't assume that, oh, that was just like a good recording, or like it could be a completely different person. So really listen to it and make sure that on the interview it matches the same voice as what they put in here, okay? Then we've got the script speaking exercise. So for the script speaking exercise, this is, I want to hear how they can sound on actually reading a script now. So we give them like a mini script to read. We don't ask them to make their own script up, because people just say random stuff. I want to give them something really specific about my industry. So for example, if you're in the chiro niche, right? This is something that I put here. Hey James, this is Arin calling from scheduling team at Kentucky Spine Center about your appointment for tomorrow at 1 p.m. for your spinal decompression treatment consultation. I like to use these big words. Even you can even hear myself there. I kind of got muddled up with the consultation bit, right? This is a good test. If someone's English isn't very good, they're gonna like be pronouncing this decompression, right? If they pronounce it decompression, you know that their English isn't as good as you think it is. Or if they pronounce it, I don't know, spinale, right? It's like, what the hell's that? So this way you can start to understand their accent. You can start to really hear if they understand how to pronounce the words properly, right? Have you received your test confirmation for your appointment? Does this still work for you? Okay. Please record yourself reading the above passage as if you were on the phone speaking to a real lead and paste the link below. Okay, so it's the same kind of thing for up here. Apart from now, we're asking to read out a script. The key things to remember here are their energy and their tonality. This is going to be the best that someone sounds. Obviously, you can train them up and you can train them a little bit on their tonality and things like that. But mostly, like, if the person sounds low energy and bad in this position here, they're going to sound even worse in real life. Because right now, this is they're applying for a job. This is like their most optimal version of themselves. It's like when you go on a first date. Whoever you go on a first date with, that person's going to be the best version of themselves. Because it's a first date. Like, you know that if on the first date, they're kind of a dick, right? They're only going to become more of a dick as you date them more and more. So make sure that if the person doesn't sound good, their energy isn't good, their tonality is like, everything's just not good, then write them off, right? I want to hear, like, are they smiling down the phone? I want to hear this, like, super high energy, super good tonality, smiling down the phone. I want to hear this to sound great. Then I know that if it sounds like really good high energy when they're doing it now, then I know that when they actually are on the phone and they're exhausted after 6 hours of constant calling, I know their energy will still be relatively high. But if their energy is low when they're doing a one-off script example like this, then what happens after like 8 hours of working like this? Their energy is going to be absolute trash. So I'll just write that off. Then we have listening exercises. So these listening exercises are more about them understanding English, right? So I would be using like colloquials. I'd be using like slang. I'd record yourself speaking and just speak maybe a bit mumbled and like speak quite fast and maybe rush things a little bit and use some slang and see, can that person actually understand what you're trying to say, right? So we don't ask them to write out like anything too crazy, but what we say is listen to this recording and then I want you to pick the most suitable response, right? And they can literally select A, B, or C, okay? And so if you listen to the recording, it's me speaking, I'm just like saying random stuff and just don't sound great, right? I just sound a little bit like mumbling my voice. I'm speaking fast. I already speak fast anyway, and I've got a British accent where a lot of people are used to American accents, so it's like double hard for people. So I know if they pass this, then usually they're pretty good at understanding people and they'll do good on the job. I'll do another one down here as well. This is exercise 2, same thing. Then we've got internet test download screenshot. So here what I want them to do is go to a internet speed test. I want them to screenshot their results, and they attach the file here, okay? I do tell them that we need to have a download speed of at least 20 megs. I do tell them that. But that means now that some people would maybe potentially fake the screenshot because they know that you're looking for a minimum. So it's up to you if you want to include that minimum. Maybe you want to remove the minimum and you'll get more of like an honest answer from them. But most people like in this industry should have way over 20 megs. That's not something like, that's a minimum. 20. If they haven't got 20 megs, their internet just isn't going to work. It's going to be a nightmare. Then we have the same thing but for upload. So for that, they've got the download and then you got the upload. For the upload speed, we want at least 10 megs. It's not as important, but we want the upload speed to be at least 10 megabytes. Again, they can screenshot it, add it into here, not an issue. Then we have the images set up. So the main things I want to see are, do they have 2 monitors? Okay. So if they get a picture of their setup, they literally just get on their phone, take a picture of it, right? If I see they have 2 monitors, like relatively newer, like new computer, if the monitors look pretty modern, right? They got like a keyboard, a mouse, their desk is clean, all that kind of stuff, then great, like they pass, right? But if you've got someone that's like, they've got like a HP computer from 2004, right? And they've got some like little monitor that's been like held up by like some sellotape, right? Like being like tied around, like then you know that they're working, they're not gonna be very efficient. Their computer's slow, their second monitor isn't that great, like the whole thing's a bit messy. It's not good at all. Okay, so this is a way just to see what kind of technology they have, how efficient they are. If you see that someone's got like lights behind their monitor, right, and they've got like some gaming keyboard or something like that, you know that they're investing into their setup. Whether it's for gaming or for work, it doesn't matter. You know that they've actually spent money on their setup and they want it to look nice and they're kind of proud of it, right? The fact they've got lights and they've got like the cool keyboards and that kind of stuff. So that's always a good sign. And we even say in here, like, please make sure to include your mouse, keyboard, computer, laptop, and monitors, right? The other thing as well is like, how clean is their desk, right? If they are like, if I also take a picture of my desk right now, my desk is actually quite messy, right? But if someone asked me, like a potential employer asked me to take a picture of my desk, I'd make sure I clean it up, right? I'd make it look really, really nice because I'm organized. Like I'm thinking ahead. Like I'm not going to take a picture of my desk right now because it just looks messy. It doesn't look good. So if someone's got like a super messy desk, which most people never really have, people usually clean it up. But if they got a really messy desk, like then you know they just don't really care that much about what you think, and they're probably not going to be a good employee. So they're all the questions we ask. So again, this is to screen them before jumping on the interview. We don't want to get on an interview with someone and there'd be some super basic things that we could have screened for, and we're just wasting our time talking to people, blocking our calendar out, and we jump on a call with someone like 2 minutes in, we're like, we know this isn't going to work. What's the point of having that conversation? Like, you should just, it's just don't do it. So this is a great screening tool to make sure that you're not wasting your time with people that just are never going to be a good fit in the first place. So then on the interview itself, what are we really looking for? Okay, so the first thing is we want to double check their internet speed, right? So make sure they do a screen share and say to them, hey, do you know that internet speed test you did during the application? Can you just quickly share your screen now and then go to the same website and just quickly run your speed test for me, and make sure they share the screen when they do it, and make sure the number is the same. If the number's randomly like super low, you can say to them, hey, have you got like another internet or something, like another internet connection you can connect to? Maybe you are on a different internet connection, or is this the only one? If they're like, oh, it's the only one, then you know they were lying. Obviously get rid of them, right? If they do have another internet connection, you need to make it very clear. Obviously make them connect to the new internet, make them run the test. If it's way better than what you just saw and it matches similar to what the application showed, then you need to make sure that you tell them that every time you work, you must be on this internet connection, not on your other one. The other one could be a backup, fine, but your internet must be on this connection whenever you're working, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is I want their webcam to be on. I want to be able to see them. This is maybe just a personal thing for me. I cannot stand talking to people with no webcam on. It's just like trying to have a conversation with someone and like they just like got their name as a, it's like, I just freaking hate that. I absolutely hate that. So for me, they have to have their webcam on, they have to look presentable, and they've got to be able to have a conversation with me on the webcam. That's like a requirement. A lot of people do get shy about it, like especially in the Philippines, a lot of people don't like being on cam. So if they aren't on camera, I'd always just say to them, hey, have you got webcam you can jump on, right? If everything else is really, really good and they're just like, I'm sorry, like I just don't have a webcam, right? I'd actually probably buy one for them. Like when they started work, I'd buy one for them so I could have a conversation with them. I'd ask them, are you happy to go on webcam if we work together like ongoing, and you happy to jump on webcam when we do meetings, that kind of stuff? If they're like, yes, absolutely fine, I just don't have one, it's like, great, cool, like that's not like a showstopper, that's not an issue. But if someone's like just shy about going on webcam and stuff, you know, you can always say to them, hey, look, everyone's shy. I was really shy when I first went on webcam, but just over time you get used to it. Just I like to have this conversation with people. I like to be able to see them when I'm speaking to them. So do you have a webcam you can jump on? If they're still like, no, I don't want to go on webcam, then I personally wouldn't hire them. It's up to you. But I just like to have, when I have coaching calls with people, I need to be able to see them. It's really important to me. The next one is they've got to be able to join on their PC. I don't really want people joining on their phone. If they've got another job and they've like on their lunch break and they're on their phone, like I kind of get that. That's not a major issue, but I'd want to book in with them when they're actually at their computer, because you can't do an internet speed test, right? You can't see how good their setup is on the interview itself, right? When you're talking to them, is the connection lagging, right? Is there any like background noise, right? All that kind of stuff. You can't do that. If they're on their phone at work or somewhere else, then you can't judge them other things I just mentioned. So I want to make sure that we do at some point have an interview with them sitting in their desk where they're going to be making phone calls. I can hear what their mic sounds like, right? Do they have a bad mic on Zoom? Do they have a bad mic when they're speaking to me on their computer? If their mic is horrible when they're speaking to me on Zoom, that's the same mic they're going to be using when they're phoning up leads. So that's like really important. So they have to do an interview at their actual desk to make sure I can hear what they sound like. I can see what their computer like is working like. I can see what the internet connection is like, if it's stable, that kind of stuff. And the final thing is ability to take feedback. So throughout the actual interview itself, I will be asking them just general questions about past experience. And what I'm really trying to get is just like a vibe from them. Like, are they weird, right? Are they like pretty chilled? Are they friendly? Are they smiling? Have they got good energy, right? I'm just going to ask like any kind of question so I can pick up on that kind of feeling from them. But then also there are some important things like ability to take feedback, okay? So the ability to take feedback, what I would do is I would do a quick role play with them. So on the role play, I'd be like, right, you pretend to be the appointment setter. Here's like a mini script. Let's just do a really quick role play. Introduce yourself. We'll have a quick conversation. I know I'm putting you on the spot, so don't stress. Like you're like, don't panic. Like, you're all good. Make sure you tell them that as well, because otherwise they'll get super nervous and they'll just like they won't like it at all. So just say to them, look, I'm gonna do a quick role play with you. Like, I know I'm putting you on the spot, so don't stress. Like, I'm not actually judging what you say or anything like that. I just want to do just a quick role play with you just to see how it goes, right? Do a quick role play with them, and afterwards be like, right, that was really good. There's one thing that I want to change. So rather than doing this, say this. Or, for example, like maybe their energy was like a tiny bit low, and you can say, hey, look, like your energy was a little bit low. Can you like try smiling on smiling when you're talking to me, so I can like it brings your energy up naturally. There could be all sorts of things. Maybe they don't say my name, right? And you can say, hey, I want you to repeat my name a few times in the role play, just so it makes me feel like more heard. Right? Any kind of feedback you want to give them. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not about the feedback. Then what you do is you run it again with them, and you see, have they actually listened to the feedback and changed how they did the call the second time based on your feedback, right? If they've listened to your feedback and they've actually implemented it, great. You know they're coachable. You know they're going to do a great job. Awesome, right? If they just completely disregard your feedback, then it's a bit like it gives you an insight into what it's going to be like coaching them in the future, right? So if they're not good at taking feedback, or if the person's just gets very defensive and like, oh no, I just don't like to use people's names, blah, 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 and I get really defensive about the feedback, then again, you know they're not going to be a good fit, because in this role they have to be coachable. They have to be able to take feedback, implement it to do better on the calls, to get more booked appointments, more shows for your clients. So this is the filter I use. We've hired probably thousands of setters at this point, and we've always used this kind of framework to make sure that we are jumping on with the right people and finding the best people for our call center. So, got any questions? Post in the comments below. Super excited for you guys to try this out. Let me know how it goes right in the comments. Like I said, like if you find it works really well, I'd love to hear it. So yeah, post in the comments below. Any questions, any kind of feedback, and I'll speak to you on the next one. Cheers.